I might not include them all in the edit, so I'm not going to number them as we go, but I've got 22 questions on a document next to me here. So we're going to try and do our best for a bumper episode and get through as many as we can. Is that okay?
Mailbag's on fire. Yeah,
honestly, it is since full time on Saturday. There's probably been 50 messages into the mailbag, and I've selected 22. Some of them obviously are repeat questions. The amount of people that asked about Watkins and his comments on the atmosphere. So I've kind of condensed it as best I can. Is this the intro? I am rolling, so some of that can be the intro, I think.
Yeah, just get into your big sack of questions.
Come on, you're expecting me not to laugh at that? Hello, welcome to the Claret Blue Podcast. It's Q&A time. We've absolutely got loads to get through. There's no sand timer hourglass behind me for this one, John, because I'm willing for this to go as long as we deem necessary. How's things, mate? First of all, question from me. You okay?
Yeah, doing well. We're doing well, aren't we?
We are doing very well.
Return to winning ways sounds a bit crazy because we'd won 11 before Arsenal, but factually true. An important win, one which, extends our buffer after the Arsenal game anyway, to fifth place again.
Some great results at the weekend.
Yeah, I did mention how things are changing beneath us a couple of weeks ago. Since then, Chelsea have sacked the manager, or the parted ways. United have sacked their manager. So a lot is changing beneath us, which, for good or for worse, okay, we know what we need to do. We've hit a points target now where I feel confident enough that we can get over the line, even though we've still got a lot of football to play. But yeah, feeling good about where we are.
Yeah, I saw somebody post a screenshot of the league table on Twitter this morning, and it was 4th to 13th, I think. He's separated by
6 points or so.
6 points, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
I was going to say 3 points. It's not that tall. It's not far off. And that, so glad not to be involved in this. And we're not, are we, Villa? Because we're up in third. The league tab was cropped from 4th below. There's such a buffer between us and 4th, never mind us and 6th, that we're not really in that conversation at the moment. And of course, as we know, things can change. Teams that are currently 10th could be 5th, given a couple of wins and the results go their way. But the fact that we're not in that kind of grind, I suppose, for want of a better word, and how topsy-turvy it can be. 1 minute you're this, 1 minute you're that. Villa are going to be third for a while, I think. I'm not even convinced they're going to drop out of it. I'm fully convinced they'll finish in the top 4, and we just know that if you keep chipping away with your own victories, then you're in a brilliant position. Yeah,
precisely that. We're at a stage now where, as I've done a few times, you can count down the wins as such. We're 8 wins away from hitting our target, tally of last season, which, although we didn't get the Champions League, was enough points-wise. Yeah. Newcastle finishing 5th there. But we can do more than that. We can exceed 70 points. This hopefully will be our best season in the Premier League. And yeah, certainly under Emery as well. And obviously a high standard was set a few years ago with 68 points, I think, that we got in 23-24. We can do better than that. But it's nice to know that we're only 8 wins out of 18 games, if that makes sense, from last season's target. So win 8 matches and we're almost guaranteed to finish with around 70 points. If not
how many home games?
No, you asked me. 9. Is it 9? I'm pretty sure it's 9. Yeah.
Yeah. So win all your home games and lose all the aways, and you're still in a brilliant position. Yeah, that's a nice kind of buffer to have, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Let's dive into these questions. They're in no particular order. There's absolutely millions of them, so we're going to get straight into it. First of all, funny one for me to begin with, from Amadou Anana's Louis Vuitton jacket. After John's questionable renaming of Amadou last week and Kendrick questioning Anana's tunnel antics after Forest, does that make Dan the only one in Anana's fan club? Also, John Townley, how on earth did Boubacar Kamara only get 7 in your player ratings?
I will own up to when I've dropped maybe a bit of a stinker on my ratings, and sometimes we'll back them up as well because I believe in what I say. But yeah, Kamara's maybe a bit harsh. Probably should have given him an 8. It's a rush during games. I'm doing lots of different things. Said this a million times, but I don't take them so seriously. Yeah, give him an 8.
I'd give him a 9.
Does that make you feel better?
I think he was man of the match.
I wouldn't say that just because there was a moment in the first half when he did give the ball away. Well, he did, and that was Forest's best chance the first half. I know I said him a walk and talk. I'm nitpicking, but I do raise him to a high standard. But yeah, 8 was probably fine. The only reason I think as well why I gave Tielemans a higher score was because Tielemans played a role in all of our goals.
Yeah,
and for that reason, maybe I'm thinking about it too seriously here, but I didn't want to put Tielemans 9 because McGinn scored twice, and I'm thinking, well, yeah, that's essentially won us the game. To stick Tielemans as an 8, he's played a part in all 3 goals, and then in my head I'm just like, well, Kamara it's 7. I'm trying to rush around, do different things, but yeah, 8 would have been in retrospect what I would have given him. So I hold my hands up on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can confirm you did indeed say Amadou Banana in the last episode as well.
That's
once we VAR'd the footage and had a look back at it.
That's what the audio sounded like. Jenny, I had no idea what you're talking about when you said that. I thought it was you that said it, but anyway.
Funny. Okay, let's move on then. River Costello next then. John often talks about statistically how many wins we need to get the Champions League, which we've already touched on. But am I mistaken in thinking it may be even less this year? The results of the clubs behind us have been absolutely excellent for us. Is there a world in which we may be thinking about finishing 3rd or maybe, just maybe, even 2nd? I think we should be looking at finishing 3rd, to be honest, if I'm going to be honest about it. I think we'll comfortably finish in the top 5 points-wise. Mm-hmm. I think we'll actually be in the top 4. So if it's not 5th place this year, which I think it will be anyway, it doesn't matter because we're 4th. Yeah. And I actually think we should be pushing for 3rd and should be able to get it. 8 wins out of 18 would be a poor run for us based off this season so far. So I expect us to get more than that. And if you do get to 72, 73 points, that should be enough for 3rd, really, I think. However, in terms of a points total, when we look back on it at the end of the season, thinking, we needed 68 points to guarantee top 5, I don't think you will. I think it probably will be less. It's very competitive, and a lot of teams around, 5th to 10th will take points off each other.
Yeah, I would agree. If I had to bet on how many points to get your 5th this season, maybe it will be 65 or so. But I just don't want to take that risk. I think right now, I can imagine myself in May thinking, why was I stressing that much about winning these amount of games? And why was I thinking about, who are Chelsea going to appoint and who are Man United going to appoint? That's how I hope that's how I feel. And I also think I feel like that. Yeah. But why would I get too ahead of myself or get too ahead of ourselves? Because at the same time, we do need to respect the teams. I think if we feel like that, maybe the players feel like that. And I'm not saying we influence them at all, but I don't know how to explain this, but as a fan base, if you take like a sample, no one thinks that we're guaranteed the Champions League. Maybe some do, but I'd like to think that most of us don't think we're guaranteed it.
I do.
I don't think we are guaranteed it, no.
I think we are guaranteed to finish in the top 5 this year.
Well, factually, I can't be correct, but to be honest, I don't think we are guaranteed. I think we've got...
Do you not? Really? You think there's a chance we could finish 6th or lower?
Well, if you think we're guaranteed, you're wrong, so...
No, I don't agree.
I know what you mean. What percentage on it then? What's the chance you think we get in the Champions League? Keep dropping everything?
100?
100%? Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I give ourselves a 80-85% chance.
Really? As low as that?
It's not low. That's high.
Well, yeah, in some ways it is. I thought you'd have said at least 90. Not that it really matters the difference between 85 and 90.
We're about halfway in the season and we've had an amazing run. Hopefully that continues. But knockout football, injuries, whatever else, like things happen. Maybe Liverpool get their kind of mojo back together. Maybe Chelsea start drinking. I think we've got an amazing chance. But I'm not going to say we guaranteed it. But the point I'm trying to make is that I think as soon as we feel that we are, we will take our foot off the gas. And that's when you do lose at Palace. That's when you lose at Forest. That's when you don't beat Burnley. That's when you struggle against Wolves. We have to pretend that we're 2 points ahead and that we got to keep winning.
Yeah, that's how the club have to treat it, yeah.
If in April the gap is 3 points, we've made a bit of an error there. And I think that's probably a mental error because we know we're good enough to beat every team in this league.
Yeah.
So if in April time, when we've got Europa League knockouts as well, we've lost a buffer, I'd question something then, obviously mitigating circumstances with injuries, etc. But do you know what I'm trying to say? I actually think if we take a foot off the gas now, we're going to have problems because you have to win the Europa League as well. So you've got to do both. We've got a great chance of doing it in the league and the Europa League as well. I'm disappointed if we don't win the Europa League, even if we finish 3rd this season.
Let's get to that then, because there was a question on that later down the line. I said these were in no particular order. Of course, this one should have stood out to me. This is from Dan's receding hairline. Please, John, stop saying we have to win the Europa League in capitals. Why? It makes you sound like It makes you sound like an entitled Arsenal fan, and I know you're not like that. No. I fear you're setting yourself up for disappointment. I kind of agree with that last part. I think you are as well. You've made such a thing of it. If we don't win the Europa League, you're going to be pissed off. Rightly so.
You're not going to be pissed off?
No, rightly so. But I don't know. I still think the league is
All right.
Finishing as high as possible.
Are Aston Villa a better team than Roma?
You don't need to go through all the teams in the Europa League because they're better than all of them, but that doesn't necessarily make you the competition winner.
But it should. And if we don't, if we don't, we go back to Crystal Palace in the FA Cup. We go back to Man United on the final day. We go back to Olympiacos. When are we going to win? Now is the time to win. Win. If we finish third in the Premier League, fantastic. We did that 2 years ago. Win.
But the mitigating circumstances of you not wanting to guarantee us in the Champions League and the league because of injuries.
We're halfway through the season. No. Different. I'm not saying we're guaranteed to win the Europa League. I don't know if we are. We may get knocked out in the quarterfinals. I have no idea. I think we've still got something to do in Europe. We scrape past Basel. We scrape past young boys, really. We've got levels to go, but I need to see more of us in the knockouts. I'm not saying we're going to win the competition. I'm saying we have to, because now is the time to do it. Next season, if we play in the Champions League, we will probably go far in the Champions League, so back us to do it. Will we win it? I don't think so. This is the chance to win a trophy, so let's do it. I don't like the sort of mentality of like, oh, stop talking about that we have to win it. Why? Every other big club would say the same. If Chelsea are in the Europa League, they're all saying we need to win that. If Man United in the Europa League, we need to win that. Even Tottenham, they won the Europa League. Arsenal, Man City, but we're trying to compete against them. We have to change our mentality of winning things now. If we don't, and we just do what Tottenham did a few years ago under Poch and get Champions League. All right, you had some good memories, didn't you, in Ajax? Fantastic. You got to win now. Like, get over the line. This is us. Like, I don't like the whole being scared of saying we're going to win something. Like, let's enjoy it. Let's embrace it. I don't know what's wrong with talking about it. We're halfway in the league. We're doing fantastic. Europa League, more than halfway through in the league phase, of course, and we're doing very well. I think we should have probably done a bit better, having lost to Go Ahead Eagles. But I want to. This season could be one of the best seasons, or the best season I've ever had supporting Villa.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the Europa League. I don't want to kind of keep it a secret. And if we get to the semis, guys, we could get to the final. And oh my God, let's not pretend that we could get to Istanbul and beat someone. Like, let's do it. Let's, because this is exactly what the players will be thinking. The players who have won things in their career, like Tielemans and Luca Dean, Unai Emery's won it 4 times. But us as fans, we're thinking, but it may happen, it may not. Everything is there to win, so let's do it.
Can I ask you a spin-off question about, and you might not know the answer to this. We talked in the summer about Villa had like a double chance to get back into the Champions League next season. You can either win the Europa League or you can finish in the top 5. There is a chance that Villa do both this season. There's also a chance, by definition, they do neither. Let's stick with the one where they do both. What happens in terms of the Champions League places? Because obviously you get one for the top 5 and you get it for winning the Europa League.
Yeah.
Does somebody miss out somewhere in England? Does it go down to 6th place? Like, do you know?
I would presume it would go down to 6th because
that's what my dad said, but I didn't think that was right.
Well, if England get the 5 teams as coefficient, but one of them gets the Europa League winners place, then it would have to go down to 6 teams, surely.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because you get 5 clubs.
Does another nation just get an extra one?
No,
instead?
Because if Villa have the coefficient, I think another nation may benefit somewhere, but surely it would work like that. Because if you won the Europa League, that would be the case. So maybe
there's how many teams in the Champions League? Is it 36? Is it now in the new format? I think.
I don't know, but historically that has always been the case that if you win a competition, you are placed as the because there's a space in the Champions League next season for Europa League winner. Boom, if that's Villa, but there's 5 places as coefficient in the Premier League. Well, Villa have taken one, so it goes on to the next one. That would surely have to be the case.
Yeah,
so
I don't
maybe
know.
I haven't heard that in the media in terms of everyone's talking about top 5. Can Man United or Chelsea finish 5th? Well, actually, if it's 6th, maybe that would be.
Which is a bit of a shame, isn't it? Because I don't want one of those clubs to get into the Champions League by finishing 6th.
Yeah, I'm not too fussed about that, to be honest. Especially if we win, I couldn't count.
Well, but to an extent, yeah.
I would also add that, quite cynically, but next season as well, those teams may struggle more playing in the Champions League than the Europa League. I don't know, but
true.
Yeah, no, I'm not too fussed.
Worth looking into because I'm not convinced that will be 100% right. It might just be that.
It would make sense.
I don't know. It does make sense, but it also feels unfair. Anyway, let's move on to ones in the mailbag. From Stefan Postma's Postman, easy for me to say. I wasn't at the Forest game, but seeing everyone say how cold it was. What's the coldest game that you've been to? Nothing beats the friendly against Villarreal in the winter break in 2022 for me. It was very cold against Forest. I wasn't at that Villarreal game, but I remember how people saying how cold that was. I also wasn't at Bolton away in the Championship. That also people saw it as being one of the coldest days ever.
Yeah, that was
it snowing that day as well, which kind of adds to the feeling. I don't know. I can't remember specifics of how I felt cold in a certain game. It was very cold the other day, though. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I was cold at Arsenal because I forgot my coat for the second time this season.
That is rough.
It was cold. No, I don't know. Sorry to give a crap answer here, but I don't know.
Do you get heated seats in the press box?
No, Jesus, Dan.
And a blanket?
No, God, no. Not at all.
Have a word then. That's what I'd want if I was up there. Let's talk about Forest in a different way and talk atmosphere. Now, I've picked out 3 comments in the mailbag. 2 were the same, and I'm going to save one for a different talking point in a second. There were probably 6 or 7 of the 50-odd messages that were along the similar lines. So if I've not picked your comment, there's no particular reason for that. This one is from Parry Hotter. Not really feeling Watkins coming out questioning the fans. He's done nothing all season and can't cope when he's got a bit of competition. The fans have backed him all the way after missing penalties, etc. Dave, same lines. Following Watkins' comments about Villa Park atmosphere and people leaving early, it would be interesting to hear your thoughts. I always stay to the end of the game and clap the players off, regardless of the final score. However, I do understand that some people have their own reasons for leaving early. Now, I'm not opening that can of worms on whether you should or shouldn't stay to the end, whether you should leave or not. You've paid your money, you can do what you want. It's not worth, John, getting into that, in my opinion. The first part about not feeling Watkins coming out and questioning it is kind of right. I'm inclined to agree to a certain extent. It felt like to me the right message, but maybe from the wrong person. Because I think it's easy to go, how dare you, Ollie Watkins? You've been crap all season and I've supported you. I think if that comes from McGinn or Yuri Tielemans or someone that people like a bit more than Ollie Watkins, I think people get it a bit more. I also feel like some people who don't like what Watkins said probably felt, oh yeah, that was about me. Do you know what I mean? He's called me out specifically.
I think you make a really good point about who it was rather than what was said. Because I do think if that's John McGinn after scoring twice, or...
Well, Emery says it. The fans are really important. Like, we need you to say at the end, we need your support. I think we go, yeah, okay, boss, we get it. But people are easy to kind of flag Watkins.
Unai has said it. He said it early this season in a different way. I think it was after the Europa League game.
I can't remember which one.
Was it Bologna potentially? I think it might have been Bologna. In a press conference after the day after, he mentioned how he was a bit disappointed about the attendance. I think it was because it was like we're in a European adventure, and my response to that is always that the ticket prices are way too high. That I think is valid for the outset. Like, people can't afford to turn on the heating at the moment. What Watkins said was different because it's about leaving early. The flat atmosphere, I think that's completely understandable, to be honest. Like,
that's a separate question. We'll get to that.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Players saying that's what I think. I'd rather footballers come out and talk to the media honestly, rather than just say the atmosphere was great and happy to have 3 points and then go home. I'd rather them speak their mind. But I do think because of Watkins's poor form previously this season, I know he's on a good run now, but then fans probably haven't heard too much from him this season. And when they do, and it's that, they probably think, like, he gets you back up a little bit, especially if you're one of those people. And like you said, Dan, I'm not going to criticise anyone having paid their money to go to a game about what they do with their time. That is not for us to judge whatsoever. And I think even the people who do that would say, however, that ideally everyone stays and it's all fine and everyone can watch 90 minutes and everyone can sing the heart out into 6 minutes of added time. But for different circumstances, maybe that is impossible. But what Watkins said, I'd rather him say that sort of thing than not. Let's just put it that way. I think we can kind of work it as not as a positive, but sort of as a collective of like, I say, okay, so the players think this. Okay, as fans, can we do something? I don't know. Can we work more with the 1897 group? Can we make the atmosphere better in different ways? I think this is a kind of a club thing rather than a Watkins points at fans who leave early. I think it's more him saying Villa Park is an unstoppable force for Aston Villa and our players, as we've just seen. We know how good it can be. Let's try and make it good every game.
And that's not just a Villa thing, by the way.
And it's not just and that I think we can get into the why the atmosphere was a bit flat. I think it's completely understandable. It was freezing. It's a 12:30 kickoff just after Christmas. I don't know. The whole thing was just a bit like, all right, we're here. you guys play well and we'll cheer you on. And that was the feeling about it, was it not? Like Watkins also said, that we've won 11 games in a row, we're third in the league. But that's why the atmosphere is a bit sort of
expectant.
Yeah, it is, and it's a human feeling.
Yeah, let's do this other comment from Nick. This is an American perspective. Hi lads, you always say 12:30 kickoffs impact the atmosphere, but why is that? Obviously, it's not a totally equivalent thing, but with an MLS club I support, we're always loud and chanting regardless of what time kickoff is. Why does the kickoff time seem to impact Villa Park this much? For what it's worth, I thought Ollie Watkins' comments were spot on. Now, it is very different culturally between American sports goers versus British, English, whatever. We always say about the 12:30. I thought it might happen for the Arsenal game. 12:30 atmosphere. Like, it's always not as good. Now the Arsenal game had that expectancy of this is a massive game and we know we have to play our part. Yeah. Nottingham Forest. I went to Villa Park thinking I expect us to win today and we have to win today, otherwise we've messed it up. Aston Villa, go and win.
Yeah,
it's on you, kind of thing. I also think what you say has got a part to play. It was really cold. I know that sounds completely naff, but it just does have an impact.
Yeah.
12:30 again, British culture, less time for people to drink. Brutal about it. How early are you going to start to be rowdy for a 12:30 kickoff? That's very different to a 5:30. The way you feel, the day that you've had up until kickoff.
Yeah. And on a Saturday, some people might have got up a few hours ago.
You might. You wake up, you go to the game. Nothing really happens between that. You have all day to drink and whatnot. That has an impact as well. But I do worry a little bit that we do go too far the other way. And I rock up to Villa Park for the next home game against Everton and think, well, I expect to win today. Go on then.
I don't know. I don't want to kind of make more about it than what it is. This is always going to be a thing. Villa will play 12:30 next season and the atmosphere will be flat because we play, I don't know, Coventry at home. That'd probably be better for that, actually. But you know what I mean? I'm trying to think of Sheffield. I was trying to compare Southampton last season when it was like a blizzard. I think we won 1-0. Duran scored. Bad atmosphere. Bad game. 3 points, go home. It was that. So, yeah, it'll happen again. And we're not the only club that has that. Of course we're not, because we also know that when Villa Park gets going, it's probably the best or one of the best anywhere in the country. So I don't think it's worth kind of giving too much time to, but it's mainly that Watkins came out and thought, I'm going to say this, and that's okay.
Yeah. Rob, kind of a Villa subject, but a football subject in general. I find it odd how Unai always says in press conferences before games who is available and who isn't. For example, I mean, this is just team news.
He doesn't always say it.
No, he doesn't. Anana, in his pre-Forest presser, he confirmed that he was out, meaning that Sean Dyche and Forest know how he's setting his Forest team up without physicality in Villa's side.
He didn't want to.
Okay. Come back to that in a sec.
Yeah.
Dyche knows it's going to be Yuri and Buba in the middle. Wouldn't it make more sense to not give this information away before games, as surely this gives the opponent an advantage in the same way it does when lineups get leaked? I'd be interested to get your thoughts. This has always been a thing, no? Team news in pressers, who's out, who's injured. That every journalist goes into those with, what's the team news? That's the story that most people care about, who's available to play. And more often than not, going into the game, oh yeah, Pau Torres is still out.
I think Rob would maybe be more annoyed if going into every game he had no idea who was playing for Villa. Does that make sense? If after every press conference I was reporting, sorry guys, even though I didn't want to tell us the team news, and everyone's like, well, when's Pau coming back? When's this player coming back? Well, that would be more frustrating for us, no? People want to know when their players are fit. We want to know what the team news is. We don't want to be left in the lurch, because you'd be overthinking it for like a couple of days before the game, thinking like, is this player going to be fit or not? Like, we're missing it. Like, we've won a game, but God knows when this player's back. Like, I would hate that. So I think it's nice to have the clarity. I
imagine the team news comes out for Palace and Pau's back, and you go, no, brilliant.
yeah, he could lie. But I would also say that, if you're doing that sort of thing, then all of a sudden journalists try and get leaks, and then you're in a position where if Unai's not going to tell someone, trying to find out another way, and that's not ideal, because then it's that's when you see relationships break down potentially and whatnot. If it's trying to be, held as a secret, but then it comes out,
Why did you not want to talk about Anana? What happened?
Oh no, so they don't want to talk. It's just a general thing sometimes if a manager won't want to say. So we can. I asked him. Was this a couple of weeks ago? Maybe I asked him for the team news for the was it Man United? I can't remember. Whoever we played before. I don't know. Anyway, I asked him about Pau and Mings. When are they back? And he just said, we're going to train later. And he knows what I've asked, but he doesn't want to say that. And that's what it is. He obviously said about 2 weeks ago that Pau and Mings will be back in 2 weeks. And then a few days ago, it's 1 to 2 weeks again for them. So it can always be different reasons. If he knows absolutely for certain that a player is going to be out for this period, he's probably more likely to say it. If he's not too sure, maybe he's going to be more unwilling. For example, Onana, he says that Pau and Mings 1 to 2 weeks after kind of being pushed on it. And then he said Onana more. Like, again, doesn't want to give a time frame on it. So it's not always going to be an accurate thing, but at the same time, I guess it's just like courtesy, I suppose, to a reporter. If we're going to ask you a question, then yeah. I
suppose it goes both ways as well. Unai and the coaches and whoever at Villa will know from Deutsch's presser if someone's missing for Forest. Like, sometimes it goes in your favour, sometimes it doesn't.
If every Premier League manager in their next press conferences starts saying, I'm not going to give you team news now, then yeah, maybe that becomes a bit of an issue. But as I said, you'll just get more leaks, you'll get more problems like that. So I think it's easy just to give away that this player won't be available. And Palace, by the way, have about 10 players out. So yeah. And will that give us any advantage? Who knows? Right. Alan Wright's court jester asks a simple one. Are new contracts for Youri Tielemans and Ezri Konsa priorities once the January window is done? Konsa, no, because Emery has already given away that information. We've asked him about that relatively recently, and he said, when's his contract, Konsa? Is it 2020? 28? 28, I think. Emery went, 2028. Wow, that's a long time. So, yeah, literally like that. I think that's something they'd look at in the summer, because then it's 2 years left. Tielemans, yeah, that's obviously one that they need to get done.
That feels like a post-January thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm going to, if nothing else crops up, that's something that I'm going to ask Unai about. But just on Konsa, on Konsa, not actually on Konsa, more just a general thing. We always talk about when's new contracts, new contracts. And that's great. We want to keep these players forever. But I would just say we've sold well, I think, in the last few years. And whenever I bring this up, I always have to caveat with, I'm okay with selling because we've done it so many times. And look at us now, we've won like 13 out of 15. We're fine. We will be fine moving forward as long as Unai is in charge. So I would just say we need to know when is the right time to sell players as well. And I'm not saying that for Konsa, by the way. I'm just saying because there could be another few players that the question asker mentions there. I don't know, 3 or 4 other players, but maybe it's time to sell 1 or 2 of those before they reach a certain age. And this is the maximum value you could get out of them. I'm not saying do that for Konsa whatsoever. The guy is an unbelievable defender. I'm just talking about maybe some other players. We've got to think what's right for Aston Villa, though, long term. Is it to keep this player for 2 years, or is it to sell them now? Do you know what I'm trying to say? I don't want to paint that as a negative. I'm just saying we have some incredible assets. You don't want them to kind of deteriorate. Because I think we've seen that a little bit with Martinez, for example. Yeah. His value is nowhere near. Yeah, I was going to get onto that one as well.
Sorry.
No, but both players will play their part this season. If we do well, they'd have played their part.
Yeah.
We know what position we're in. So it's just kind of being familiar with that as well. We don't have the luxury of just keeping players forever and let their ages dwindle to a point where they get to 34 and they've racked up so many appearances for the club. They're a hero, they're a legend. But then after that, what's next? There has to be a succession plan.
This next question kind of leans into that a bit. I don't think it's the time to discuss it in great detail. From Yanoslav. I know everything's great at the moment, but we're Brummies and therefore we're bleak. Do you also wake up at 3 a.m. every morning panicking about succession planning? What happens after Unai? Now, I'm not going to get onto the manager specifically.
5 a.m. for me.
But Yanoslav's listed some players. Martinez, 33. Barkley, 32. Mings, 32. McGinn, 31. Watkins, 30. Buendia, 29. And less important for me, Youri, Torres, Cash and Konsa, 28. Not less important in terms of their players, but 28. Still.
Youri Torres?
Still your peak there, 28. In a year or two's time, there is a massive job to do. Calm me down, please. Now, first I have to say, just don't worry about it at the moment. Get some sleep. Get over it. It's not your job, Yaroslav, to worry about it. But there are some players there that are aging. We've talked about this squad being a little bit old in places, and that will come a time where John McGinn no longer plays for us. And the likes of Barkley and Buendia can't be used as backups because they're getting on a bit. So is there a time to sell them or
this
not offer
exactly,
a contract or whatever? Is kind of what we've just spoken about.
This is exactly what my point was, yeah. You've got to know when is the right time to sell because we can't, this isn't going to, this group of players will not last forever. Yeah. Players can play into their mid-30s now and hopefully they do that and do that well for us. But as I say, you're not going to sell a 33-year-old Ollie Watkins for any amount of money, or even a 32, or maybe 31, or maybe 30, I don't know. But you know what as Yaroslav points out there, we do have a relatively aging squad, and that's good for now because we have experience. We can get through games. We have know-how. We can go to Chelsea and win. Yeah. We can do all of those things. But equally, there has to be an eye to the future, especially because we don't grow money on trees like other clubs can with their revenues. So our player trading has to be really good.
You know, a £120 million bid for Morgan Rogers would have to be considered.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, it would have to be.
I wouldn't want to sell him. I'm not saying we're going to, but a big fee like that allows you to then rebuild squad, which is exactly what Yanaslav is worried about.
And I back us to do that because we've done it so many times. We keep selling players and get better. It's remarkable, but it keeps happening, and it seems pretty sustainable to me because of the way that we're doing it. But it's just that we have a few players creeping up. Say a few, quite a lot actually. There is a bit of a rebuild that will be needed relatively soon. For now, it's okay. And getting the Champions League helps. But yeah, we can't kind of look past that. A lot of our players are getting to 30. And yeah, we'll have to look at that. When you hit 30, you're probably in the pomp of your career, but no one's going to buy you for the same price as what you were when you're 27.
Villa Morty next up says, how about this for a plan? We go and spend 100 million in January on a couple of quality players, win the league, qualify for the Champions League, and then take a 12-point deduction for the following season, or hire Man City's lawyers, and it doesn't happen anyway. I'll gladly have a season mid-table next year, having won the Premier League this. Who's with me? Not me. I'd like to win the Premier League. That sounds lovely. But we speak so often, or we get questions so often about, why don't rules take the points deduction? Villa will never do that.
You can't do that because then you won't play in Europe. Like UEFA have said to us, if you're breaking rules, you won't play in Europe. And I get what who asked the question?
Villa Morty.
I understand what Villa Morty said. Do everything now, win it all now, so next season doesn't matter. But
people can't guarantee next year if we're
can't guarantee. They will, by the way. Emery out. But you can't just. I'm not going to take it. We can't spend 100 million in January. But also, if we spend 100 million in January, there's also no guarantee you win the league from that.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Next, Aaron says, this is interesting. Does the post-sale underperformance of players developed under Unai Emery, so Duran, Louise and Ramsey are the three that have been linked here, does that risk creating an Emery discount in the market, given the perception that his system elevates players beyond their standalone level? I think that's really, really interesting and spot on. Is that player only working well because he plays for Villa / plays under Emery's system? And will he come and work in, I don't know, Milan's system or whatever? That's a risk that we maybe can't afford to take. He's a £50 million player at Villa, but in reality, his value is probably more like 20, but Emery is making him perform beyond his abilities.
Yeah, I mentioned in the live show that it's not like a worry of mine, but I said that I wouldn't buy Villa players. We have some amazing players. But at the same time,
I know what you mean, yeah.
Expect a drop-off because your manager probably isn't as good as Unai Emery. And the structure in place is fantastic for those players who play in the starting 11.
Who do you think those players are most likely to be that are overperforming there?
I think if you took anyone out of this team, they underperform against what they're performing now in any other side. Maybe after a year, they get back up to their level, but I firmly believe that. And it's nothing against the players. I think it's actually probably the case for a number of players. If you're playing for a top team under a top manager, you probably are going to see somewhat of a dip in performance because of different things. But Unai's getting the absolute best out of these players. So just quickly to go back to the question, I do agree. If I'm any club and I look at Villa and I want to buy, I don't know, any of the players that are playing well for us, I think you'd be so interested in them. But at the same time, you know that they're playing absolutely their peak here. But it's interesting because I think Kamara, we know, is a fantastic player. Tielemans, special player. Rogers, special player. They're all fantastic players. Konsa as well. And you would just think, well, if you put them in the Arsenal team, they'd play just as well. I think maybe they would because they are good players. But I'm thinking more about other clubs, i.e. Juventus buying Louise, didn't work. Duran going to Saudi, very different sort of case. Ramsey going to Newcastle is quite a good comparison. Isn't really working at the moment. So,
I think those four you mentioned are the four I'd be most comfortable about going somewhere else and still being good. Rogers, Tielemans, Kamara and Konsa. But if you were like, I don't know, West Ham's a poor example because I think they're going to get relegated. But if you're that kind of club who's got a bit of money to spend and wants to get into Europe, but will probably finish mid-table, you might go, you might think, May Cash has been a solid Premier League right back for 4 or 5 seasons. We'll go and get him for 25 million. But I think he'd be a massive drop-off post-Emery, and I think there's a handful of players like that. McGinn's a great player, but I don't think he's anywhere near as good as he is under Emery. For
we've seen the difference from when they started to where they are now, and that would be true. It's very hard to say that every player would just all of a sudden not be as good, but there is a risk that has to be. It's nothing against those players. Those players are all in their own right, brilliant footballers, but they're playing under a manager who is the best manager they've ever played under, and probably getting more out of them than they ever thought would be possible in their career. And I say that because we're third in the Premier League, because we're trying to win the Europa League. Like, these guys joined us, McGinn in the Championship, Cash having just stayed up in the league as well. That they've been on a journey with us, and hopefully that continues. But it doesn't mean that they can just plug and play elsewhere. So it is a little bit of a concern, shall I say, that if we want 60 million for a player, teams will be reluctant to pay that because of that tax, essentially. But at the same time, people will be saying, well, that's all right, then don't buy the players. Again, we're not in a position where we can just not sell players for the next few years, unfortunately.
Yeah. Different one from Dave. What are your thoughts on some players disappearing down the tunnel at the end of the game at Villa Park without clapping or acknowledging the fans? Is this something you've noticed?
No, because I've got my head buried in my laptop usually. But if that is the case, then yeah, not ideal. I think you always want players to clap fans, win, lose or draw. I think it should be a case where actually all the players, like Tottenham do, but they did. I think they did, but maybe just Frank does it now. They do a bit of a lap. I like that because...
Is that not a bit show-offy nonsense? Do you know what I mean?
No, because I just think to go to a football match these days, it's ridiculous. Not necessarily the time, because the time doesn't really change, but when it's a night game, it does. But the money, the sacrifice you've got to make to go to all of these games at the moment, I just think win, lose or draw, the players should be appreciative of the fans. They are, by the way. I'm sure they are. If there's a player, and I don't know who, but if there's a player or a couple of them that didn't, acknowledge the fans too much after Forest, then yeah, maybe they'll look back and think, I probably should give them, a bit more appreciation or something. But I just mean in general, that's something I would like to see introduced. I just think footballers they've done an incredibly good job for Villa, but there's also fans who would go whether in the Championship or top of the Premier League. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For example, me, I know I do it for a job now, but as a season ticket in the Championship, I'd be going whether Villa are in League One, or do you know what I mean? We're there to support the team, whoever's there, however well we're doing. And I think just a nice little lap around the pitch would be a nice appreciation of like your loyalty for us. We appreciate that. That's all it is. Whether we're doing well or not, that doesn't really matter to me. I think it's just nice for players to acknowledge that, they've come out. Like I've got the dream job here, playing football. I'm doing well at it as well. But these fans are paying with, some of them struggling to make ends meet, sort of thing. Like they are here to watch me play football. I'm just going to give them an appreciation, do a lap of the pitch. That's all I'd like to see. And it's not that they aren't or they're not doing it. It's more no one's probably asked them to do it. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
I just think it would be a nice thing to do, especially because we're doing so well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's easy to take on that adulation, isn't it? If you've just won another game and it's the 15th and 17th or whatever, like, yeah, I'll do 3 or 4 laps if I was playing. Take it all, I'll make it last as long as possible, because football is cyclical. It won't be long before you're getting jeered off or booed off or whatever. So take everything you can get. Do you think there's potentially a fine line for the players, maybe, for not doing enough and then going and doing too much? That they're going to get criticised, as Onana sometimes is, for he's just a £50 million cheerleader. I've got to clap the fans but not go mental.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to kind of make too much of it. It wasn't me sending like a pointed message of like, the players aren't appreciative. It's not that at all. I mean, every football player, every club should do this, in my opinion, just to have that appreciation after a game. I think other clubs in Europe do it. The only thing I would add to that is that Emery, full-time whistle, bang, straight down into the dressing room. And he does that every single game because that's his thing. He'll clap the fans as he goes down.
Yeah.
But we saw it in the Man United match, his first match. I was waiting to give it the, hey! But no, it's straight down because that's his thing. As he said after the Arsenal match, he's quick. It is full-time, shake manager's hand if they're ready, and then go down into the dressing room and talk to his players. So maybe his players also think like that of, we'll give it a bit to the fans and celebrate, but then it's down the tunnel because we've got to debrief quickly or whatever it is. But yeah, again, nothing to do with, I've seen this and I've got a problem. It's not that. It's just that I think it's just something that would be nice for us to introduce at Villa Park.
Okay, have a word then. Let's do some transfer bits. Wasim, With the transfer window open, can we get a financial breakdown of the financial position, as there is some confusion if SCR allows for the sale of the women's team? It doesn't. If it does, it doesn't. Would it be counted in this financial year? SCR is different to PSR in the sense that PSR is kind of every asset is whatever. It's all in one big bucket. SCR is purely about revenue and wages, isn't it? And no saleable assets in terms of infrastructure.
Yeah,
it's all just about the squad.
Sister company sales aren't booked for SCR. In terms of the finances, no, I don't have them in terms of like a full breakdown if that's something that we can do later in January, or maybe more for the summer. But the kind of simple facts are Villa do have a bit of flexibility this winter window to do something. Of course, it's now a new financial year. SCR is judged from January 1, December 31. So the full calendar year, whereas PSR is June 30 deadline, obviously. So yeah, they are different. SCR is the more pressing matter for Villa and has been in the last couple of years because it's so strict, 70% wage to revenue. So yeah, it's something that Villa are going to have to mind. But we've managed it so far. I'm sure we'll manage it again. It's obviously just a frustrating one, but they do have some flexibility to do some bits in this winter. Again, anything they do though, say if they don't sell anyone but spend 20 million, obviously the summer they're going to have to try and make up for that. The only other thing I would add to that as well is the UEFA's sporting sanction as such was that they need to record a net positive transfer flow of their squad, if that makes sense. So they can't be spending £100 million not bringing anything in, basically. So again, that's something that's holding them back a little bit again.
There's a question here that I'm not even sure you'll have the answer to, but I know why this gets asked. From Unai's lesser spotted Gilet. I think you got to work on the names, guys. I've not been convinced with some of the names in this episode. Pre-Emery, I can understand why we had PSR issues, but over the last 3 years, we have only had a net spend of something like 40 million. How are we still hamstrung and unable to spend? Surely the Champions League money from last season is the equivalent of a huge player sale.
SCR is crippling us because our revenue our wages to revenue. It has been so much more. Now they're pushing about 70%. We've come from around, was it like 90 or so?
94 or something, was it?
At one stage it was very high and it's stripped back a bit more. It was mid-80s recently and I don't know exactly where it is now. But that's PSR, we can get around PSR we have got around PSR because you can make some sales, sister company sales, warehouse sales, women's team sales. That's okay. That system was completely flawed. SCR is a difficult beast to manage here. It's pretty black and white. Like, you've got to stay in line here. And if you don't, you're out of Europe in the next couple of years or whatever. So that's why we can bring in Champions League revenue, could bring in certain amounts of money, but you have to stay in line and our revenue simply isn't as high as where it needs to be in relation to the money that we spend on the squad. Yeah,
which being in the Champions League consistently will help that, but it's all about bigger sponsorship deals, bigger commercial value, all these different things.
There's Villa winning the Premier League, winning the Champions League, doing all those things. Don't think football, think other things.
Yeah, which is mad because the best sporting outcome possible, winning every trophy. Villa won the treble this year. Yeah, FA Cup, Premier League, Europa League, not quite the treble, but a treble wouldn't really make any difference.
Well, yeah, I mean,
it would, but
like, what you mean.
You wouldn't have to spend 500 million in the summer.
That ain't curing us for 5 years. It's so
nice boost. Well done, Villa. Won some trophies and got a bit of money, but it wouldn't.
I probably wouldn't care.
Problems are all gone.
We can sell a few players. I probably wouldn't care if we won the treble.
Villa just need to make more money quickly because they're miles behind the bigger commercial clubs.
Yes.
Speaking of questionable names, come on. This one is some cheese on toast with HP sauce. What's wrong with that, Barry or something?
I don't think I've ever had cheese on toast. Don't like cheese, so that's why.
A lot of people don't like cheese. I find that weird. Anyway, this person says, a lot has been made about they put Obama, which I presume is an autocorrect, Obama's injury record. But for all 3 winters, Pau Torres has missed a significant amount of football due to injury. Yeah. Is this coincidence? Or does he not like the cold weather? I'd quite like if that was the reason. He's Spanish, doesn't like the cold. Freezing over here. His injury record goes under the radar, actually. It is patchy and it always it always ends up being worse than it first is reported. Now, whether Villa know that and it's part of the game, let's say it's 2 weeks, but we know it's going to be 4, whatever. But it does tend to be 8 games, 10 games. Like, that's quite a big miss.
Don't have too much to say about it, apart from I don't think it's anything to do with the cold necessarily. Don't have much to add, but yeah, you're right. He has picked up quite a few injuries, and as long as he plays his part during the season, like I just think I wouldn't say he's injury prone necessarily, like Onana is, but then maybe it's a bit sort of harsh on Onana to say he's injury prone, but Torres isn't, even though he has missed quite a few chunks of games. But
I think something you said interesting.
Just quickly, the injury picked up, can't quite remember, but he had a metatarsal injury, didn't he? I think it was his foot. There's not much you can do about it. That's a broken bone. Like, he hasn't pulled a hamstring or anything. This one is also, just sellotape it together. Onana's have been more muscular injuries, haven't they? So that's why that's more frustrating. Whereas Pau, if you're going to break a bone, it's not really his fault.
Something you said on a recent episode was interesting about it's the only one I can think of.
Yeah, something.
Onana's injuries, you kind of just have to accept it if you're getting the player that you're getting. I know that sounds daft because I want Pau Torres to be available for 50 games, right? But if he's going to miss 10, but he's going to be brilliant for the other 40, you kind of just have to say, okay, then. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know that sounds stupid, but you'd rather Pau Torres be 100% for 40 games.
Well, this is why you have a squad.
80% for 50 games.
Yeah, this is exactly why you have a big squad. Unfortunately for us, both left-sided centre-backs are out. But, good recruitment to bring in Lindelof, who can play in different positions. And this is why Emery's versatility. Sorry, it's why Emery's versatility is so important, because if we were without Kamara and Onana for that game against Arsenal, McGinn would have had to drop in there. But few forward-thinking players, I guess, could drop into a double. Do you know what I mean? So versatility is really important, of course, for campaign. And again, Emery's done these big European seasons before. He's almost always in Europe. His was 17th campaign or something straight in Europe. So he knows you need a squad. He knows you need versatile players, and we have that. It's just that, some of our players we're just going to have to accept over the course of the season will be injured, and it is what it is. It's the same for everyone. Mark
next says, can we call McGinn possibly Villa's most important, not necessarily best player of the Unai Emery era? I think the manner in which he drives this team on the pitch, but stays so humble off it, makes him incredibly important to Emery's plans for each game. Now, I quite like the fact that we have often heard from Villa fans and otherwise, players like McGinn, you can't rely on them for a long period of time. If you want to be towards the top of the league, you've got to move on from players like McGinn. Time and time again, he finds a way of proving his worth to the team. Yeah,
that's just on the pitch. When the question was asked there, I immediately started to think of, Watkins' goals and Konsa and Kamara, they're also, really important players. But actually, I just do think as a captain and as someone in the dressing room, everyone plays their part. But McGinn feels like the glue to all of this. And I remember saying this when... was it back in the summer when Everton were one club, just one of a few clubs, that were looking at McGinn and putting a bid for McGinn. And we were saying at the time, you can't replace McGinn. You don't sell McGinn. You can't. And you could sell him for, name a price, £30 million, should we say. I wouldn't accept it. Because although, as we spoke about earlier, it's players' values and players' age going up and whatever, you don't sell McGinn for that money. What's the point? Because what you're losing is more than what you'd gain, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
he is, irreplaceable in the club in general. So I think he probably is. If I had to boil it down, he probably is the most important. Is hard because there's so many facets to this, and it's a collective. And McGinn would be the first to say that as well.
Yeah.
But if there's something that we couldn't do without, it's certainly McGinn's ability to kind of harmonise the dressing room when things are bad. He helps bring it together, and new players come into the club as well. Like, he's obviously not only now kind of like a friendly face, shall I say, around Bodymore for new players, but someone who you can have a joke with. I've heard many stories about him kind of introducing new players into the team, be it on WhatsApp or otherwise. So, absolutely. I just hope that he can lift that trophy come the end of the season and really establish himself as a legend.
I do think when we spoke before about succession planning, that is probably one of the harder pieces to get right for any club, really. A captain that's been there for a long time. And I know he's obviously not been captain for his whole Villa career, but over the last, for the Emery era, he has, and obviously a little bit before that.
Yeah.
To replace that as well, someone who understands the club for 6-7 seasons, to be captain for 3 or 4 plus, into future years.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to replace. It's not just about the ability on the pitch. That you're right, glue is a good word for his kind of core being runs throughout the club and the dressing room and this era of the club, and that will be a hard thing to replace for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, irreplaceable. I think you can replace goals, and it's hard to do. You can replace top defender. You can, all those things are hard to do though, and they cost money. But you can't buy what McGinn is. Do you know what I mean? That's why I say it's irreplaceable, because you can't buy it. You can't buy a player, Tottenham, from another place from Arsenal, and just expect him to do what John McGinn does. You just can't. So, yeah, that's why I'd love him to see out his whole career at Villa. And even if in 3 years he isn't playing as much as he is now, he can still play a really important role. Sorry. Okay,
let's do a bit of a Crystal Palace section. And there's 2 questions specifically about Palace. First of all, from Anthony. I was watching Newcastle versus Palace, and it's obvious they'll use Lerma's long throw against us. So, with no Mings and Banana, had to, what do you think is the best way to combat this threat? Have you seen much of Palace recently? I know they're on a bit of a poor run. Well, has he got the notepad?
Do it. Actually, there's some things that you might not be able to show. I think we're okay. Palace cannot defend set pieces before playing Villa. Those are Oliver Glasner's words, by the way, not just mine.
Okay, fine, fair enough.
We cannot defend set pieces. So 6 games, the last 6 games they've played, they've conceded 9 goals from set pieces. So I'm just going to run you through them. Newcastle, so the last game, 1 goal from a corner. Malik Chow scored. Palace couldn't defend. Couldn't clear the lines. 1 free kick, and they initially cleared it, but then Barnes, back post, Miley headed down to Guimaraes. Yeah. Fulham, they didn't concede a set piece. Tottenham, they conceded a corner, which was Archie Gray. Arsenal, they conceded from a corner, which I think it was Gabriel. I'm not too sure, but again, couldn't clear the lines. Leeds, they conceded from a corner. A free kick, which, there's not much you can do. If he puts a top corner, he puts a top corner. But then they also conceded from 2 throw-ins in that Leeds game as well. Calvert-Lewin had some joy in that match. And then against KUPS, or KUPS, I think they're from Finland, they also conceded a corner. So there's a lot there for Villa to look at and think, all right, Austin McPhee working magic. If there's a way in which we can harm Palace, otherwise set pieces are definitely a weakness for them.
Here's a stupidly reductive tactical question for you. If they're so poor from set pieces to defending their box, defending aerial balls, is it not the same just to whip loads of crosses in and do the same? You don't need the set piece. You can still get to the same end product.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're trying to say. I think it's more because from across what you may have 2 players in the box, depending on the situation. But from a free kick or a corner, you can plan that. Time stops still. Like you can organise, and Palace themselves have got to think man for man or zone, or what are they doing? How are they going to combat this? From across, it's black and white, really. If Watkins gets between Gay and another defender, there's a chance for us if we put the ball in the right area. It also relies on something else. So I just think from set plays, it's a different beast, and something that Palace really have struggled up.
Next question from Robert Snodgrass's right foot. Not as good as his left. Given where we are as a team now, surely the Palace curse has to end. Or is their setup, be it formation or tactics, just the kryptonite to Emery ball? Glasner has had Emery's number on multiple occasions.
Yes.
That has been talked about a lot.
Yeah.
Obviously 3 at the back as well is something that Villa have struggled with before against other clubs, Manchester United as well. Surely the Palace curse has to end. Yeah. I think it probably does have to end now, doesn't it? I think I said this on a recent episode, how we kind of write off Crystal Palace and Wolves and Newcastle away and Manchester United, Liverpool. Yeah. We lose every year 5-6 games away from home, pretty much guaranteed.
Yeah.
If we are to become a club that is consistently in the top 4 or better, these are like games that you just write off as, it's Palace. Everyone's going, and this is one of those ones that people will look at from the wider footballing world as, look where Villa are and look at the run Palace are on. Of course Villa will win. And if we don't, it will be, how did Villa lose that? But because we know the history and it's just one of those games, we just go into it thinking, they'll find a way to win somehow. It doesn't matter they've got 10 injuries.
Yeah.
But do you know what I mean? You've got to kind of get past it at some point.
Yeah, I mean, the positives, if we I don't want to get them out of the way, but set pieces, they're vulnerable. Sarr isn't playing, which is a big thing for us. Of course, I've got Brennan Johnson, though, who can cause problems. I think that's it. So, in all competitions, Palace boss Glasner has never lost to Villa's Emery. I don't know what I have to say Villa's Emery. 6 meetings, so never lost in 6 games in all competitions against Emery. It's the most that Glasner has faced another manager without losing, while as a top-flight manager, it's the most that Emery has faced another manager without winning. So, got your number. It's a bit of an understatement, to be honest, which is madness because it's Unai Emery, second best manager in the league. So, can I just quickly? I remember last season reading you a stat, Dan, and you were really surprised. I don't know if you remember. And anyway, you're probably going to be surprised again. So, Crystal Palace are looking to complete their first league double over Villa since 2013-14.
Yeah, that does surprise me.
Yeah, I thought it would.
Because you just think we lose every game, but
that's what I mean.
A few draws, haven't we, at Villa Park?
And we're away from home, so. Yeah, I just feel like this is the best opportunity we're going to have to beat Palace, but it also doesn't mean that we are going to. As you said there, the three at the back or wing backs even, it is a problem. However, without Munoz, Palace have been really poor, and Kamada as well. He'd add to that, and just another layer. Nathaniel Klein picked up an injury against Newcastle. I think it was groin/hip area. I have no idea who they're going to be playing at right wing back. Mainly because I don't follow Palace. Maybe it's like an easy answer, like it is for when we're missing a right back and it's Bogard will play, not Garcia. So I don't know, but to miss Munoz and Klein, if that's the case, that would be because their wing backs are really key to how they play. Yeah. So that would be something for us. Mateta obviously scored more goals, I presume, against us than anyone else. Like he's obviously a threat, but I fancy us.
I do. I just want it to go one of the ways that it goes the way that the neutrals expect. Lose to Arsenal, beat Forest, and everyone goes, Villa are going to start another run. Villa fans say, but we got Palace next, away from home. Like, don't kind of get too carried away yet. Yeah. The injuries they've got, the changes, the fact that we are better now than we have been. I hope it goes the way that everyone expects. And of course, Villa go there and win. They're definitely better than Palace. Like, Palace have got some great players, by the way. And I think you said then about Emery being the second best manager in the league. Glasner will be one of the, 6th or 7th best? I don't know, without specifically thinking about it. But he's a good coach. He's
probably higher. Yeah, higher. Yeah.
So this isn't like Glasner's got Emery's number. How dare he? Emery's the second best. Glasner's the 4th best or something. So okay, whatever.
Yeah. This
has to be though one of those games that Villa just go there and grind out a little bit. Do you think?
I'd be stunned if we went there and won comfortably 2-0. I just would be, and that's not because don't think about anything apart from their style matches up against us very well for them.
Yeah.
Man United, we've seen play a relatively similar system and do us on the final day, and they played very well there. Man United, probably the best that they played under Amorim. Palace they've 5 out of 6 wins they've had against us now in the space of 18 months or something ridiculous. It's one of those where I go into it thinking, well, because we've beaten Forest, if we don't win the game, we've had so much success without beating Crystal Palace.
Well, that's true.
Do you know what I mean? It is what it is. If we don't win the game, it's a bit of a missed opportunity in a way because Palace got so many injured players. But at the same time, I think at the start of the season, everyone would have just said Palace away. Just
forget about it.
Scribble that one out. We don't. Just write it off, but not in a defeatist way. Just as a way of okay, well, whatever happens there, it's not going to define the season because it's Palace away.
Yeah. Would you take a draw now?
No.
Wouldn't you? I would.
I wouldn't. No.
Be happy just
to why? Palace is. And I know I just said all of this about Palace and Villa, but they haven't won in 7. I think it is. I don't think they've won in 7, and the home form as well is actually quite poor. Yeah. They haven't won in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, so they haven't won in 7 in all comps, and then they haven't won in 6 in home matches in all comps, and losing 3 of those 6 as well. So it's not a great run of form, and you can stretch that back to only beating Brentford and AZ Alkmaar at home since mid-October. Like, that's really not good form, is it, at all?
No, of course not, but that can all change in one game.
Yeah, it can. It can. But I don't know. Just if I'm not going to back us now, I never will against Palace.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but I like the idea of win at home and draw away, and that's.
I like the idea of winning both, but I get what you mean. I'm willing
Everton's the same. Beat Everton and draw to Newcastle. I'd be happy with that.
I'd be happier with that than beating Forest and drawing to Palace, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah.
Just because of the context of Palace, and I'm only saying that because obviously it's 1 point for a draw. We've got a buffer already. I'm worth, I'll take a bit of a risk here.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. Do you want to reel off a score prediction? I've still not done an update of where we are for the prediction league. I think I said 3-0 for Forest, and you said 2-0, I think.
You said 3-0 Palace? Yeah, I said 2-0,
Yeah, I think I said 3. Somebody messaged me saying I got it bang on, but I don't think I said 3-1. Palace, I think it will be tight. I think they'll score, so I'm going to go, it's either 2-1 or 3-2. 2-1, I suppose.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say 2-1 Villa as well. Yeah, I'll say 2-1 Villa.
I quite like to not concede twice to them, but if we were to win 3-2, I don't really mind it. 4-3, 5-4, doesn't really matter as long as we come out winners, I suppose.
Yeah, I'd prefer to beat them 3-2 than 2-1.
Why? More goals to celebrate.
Yeah, just a bit more exciting. You know what I'm like? I like a bit of suffering and a bit of joy at the end. So I don't mind putting myself through it.
Okay, fine, fair enough. This question specifically is for you, John, from Sean. You've been covering Villa for quite a while now. How much busier has the press box and the press conferences got since you started? And has it been even busier in recent weeks while we're on the 11-winning run? And is there more talk about Villa from the London-based journalists? I'd also love to see a day in the life of a journalist on match day from Claret and Blue. I know we get the walk and talk, etc., but it's something I'd like to watch. Love the content from you all up the Villa. Now, we get this quite a lot about the day in the life. I think there's two strands to this. We'll get to the press box business in a sec. There's two strands. Either you don't think it's interesting enough to film because you don't, to say you don't do enough. That's not what I mean. But like, what you're going to film, you type on a keyboard.
Don't say that.
Do more work. No, it isn't true at all.
Yeah.
Or you feel like you wouldn't be able to do it justice. Like you wouldn't be able to focus on your actual job if you were filming.
No,
you wouldn't be able to film on what you wouldn't be able to focus on the film, and if you were doing your job or whatever.
I'd be more than happy to do that, but the thought of having you walk around and filming me everywhere in Villa Park.
No, I think you'd have to vlog it yourself.
I can't do that. Yeah, I can't do that. No.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to be allowed to go up there, am I?
Well, not even that. I just meant in general of why is someone filming you everywhere? Like, are you that important? And I'm not, so I'd feel terrible. No, I think that would be cool. The first part of the question, are we? No, not really.
It's not been busy.
No, not necessarily. No, it was quite busy for the Arsenal game. That's because it was obviously billed as like a teams will win the league. But no, it doesn't change. To be perfectly honest with you,
was Bayern the busiest first Champions League game?
I'd say the busiest press conference I've ever been in was probably PSG.
Oh, PSG, yeah, of course, yeah.
In Paris, that was okay. It was basically like a cinema room, and everyone, everyone turned up for that. So I say movie press conference. No, it doesn't make it much busier. I mean, it's obviously myself, the local reporters, some national there as well. But obviously they have different clubs to cover on the Midlands patch, so it doesn't really differ. No, honestly, nothing majorly different. So, and people talking about us more. I don't know because I don't. Again, the people who cover Villa from a national perspective are at Villa games most weeks still because they're covering Villa Forest, on the Midlands patch. So I see them a lot. So I don't see too many people who don't dip their toes into the Villa world very often. But what I would say is that whenever you hear people talk about Villa, it's always, are they in a title race? And I don't know how to feel. I've never thought I'd say this, but I've got a bit bored about it because do you not think it's a bit sort of like, I don't know. For me, I said this before, it's way too early to talk about a title race for a start. Then secondly, I think there's much more to talk about Villa than just the title race. I know that sounds mental because that's the biggest compliment you could pay a team. But I'd want to hear more about, it's remarkable that they're in this position considering the summer that they've had, or considering the difficulty they have buying players because of the rules and how Emery is this and do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, I think us being in a title race and people saying, "Oh, Villa have fallen away from the title race if they lose to these." Forget that. We're 11 points clear of Chelsea. We're how many points away from Man United, who spent £200 million in the summer? That's a remarkable achievement that I think has been overlooked because people are putting this in those comments. We're almost doing too well. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I think the story of the coverage that Villa gets is not about Villa. It's that they're someone else in the title race. So we almost get spoken about by default. That it's the title race is not just Arsenal are going to win it. City are there and Villa are there for now. So Villa is the word Villa is coming out of people's mouths because they're associated with the title race, not because Villa are doing well. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like we're almost victims of our own success. Like we've won, I think, each of the last 10 games that we've played in Europe. We've always won the Premier League game after that. That in itself is remarkable. I think if Newcastle were doing that, if Newcastle were in third, if Newcastle were doing it, I think that would get quite a lot of line. No, it's not that. It's more because the question said, about what's the topic on Villa in terms of like national, should we say? I know as much as you because, as I say, but just for me, whenever I tune in something about Villa, it's always just, can Villa win the league? And it's like, for me, I'm like, well, no, I don't think they can. Like, that's it. But I don't want that to be like a 1 minute segment. I want to hear about they've had a poor start, but now look how well they've done. 13 wins out of 15 in the league. That is remarkable. And why is that? How is that? Rather than, Chelsea going to move on and blah blah blah. This is what they're doing, but it's always the same. Like, but with Villa, this is pretty special stuff. But anyway,
but then if people were listening to that, they wouldn't have time to listen to this podcast that's been about 4 hours long. So every cloud.
Every cloud, indeed.
We did say it was going to be a bumper episode. We've got 2 more questions to go, and then we're done for this one. Our next episode will be the post-match with Pally, so you've got plenty of time to tune in wherever you're listening. People are back to work now, aren't they? So commute maybe in the gym, walking the dog. I want to know where people are listening to this one because everyone's back to reality now.
Different working in football, isn't it? Though you kind of just.
Oh yeah, we don't have time off, do we, John?
I don't need to sound like that at all. I don't sound like that at all. People deserve the breaks, but it feels weird. Like people are back in work. It's
never stops for us, does it, John? Never stops.
I don't want that label at all, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's just a bit odd. Like
I always say that to people, like families. Like, you have a nice break over Christmas. Like, well, football never stops, does it? I don't get a break. Right, Gustavo, a transfer one that I should have included in our little transfer segment earlier. Yeah. I've read recent links between Villa and Man City's Marmouche. What kind of forward player would Villa be looking at to bolster us up front? Is it as simple as a number 9 to take some pressure off Ollie, or would Emery want another Swiss Army knife of a forward in terms of versatility?
Yeah,
I'd quite like an actual striker, I think.
Yeah, I would, but last season obviously we recruit Rashford, didn't we? And we all thought he'd be playing on the wing, and he was playing as a centre forward for most of the time that he was with us. So I wouldn't want to second guess what Emery does. I'll give my take. I think we should be looking at a striker that is as stylistically similar as Ollie Watkins as you can get. A player who's going to run channels, hassle defenders. Because when he's not playing, it shows for me. I'm not talking about his goals, even though he's scoring goals now, but even in his bad run, like Leon Bailey a couple of seasons ago when I was saying, continue to play him though, because for the structure, it's really important. And the structure is king for this Villa team. We're not relying on, we do rely on individual brilliance at some point, but to either stay in games or be in games and to win games, it's because we're strong and solid in that moment, So if we don't make chances, rely on individual brilliance, but often we are going to make chances that are going to result in goals because of how we're set up. So that would be my preference, but then he could be looking at somewhere else in terms of evolving the team and bringing someone else in who can do something different to Watkins, which I'd understand as well. Not to kind of beat the Calvert-Lewin drum again, and I'm not saying that I was like, oh my God, sign him. And I'm not trying to play that card of like, oh, told you. I'm not doing that. But in the summer when that was the option, I think that would have, in hindsight, man, that would have been so good. A free transfer, a player who I think is scoring goals primarily because he's just fit. And he would have stayed fit, likely, at Villa if he's not playing every game and he's coming into impact games. There's no one else, there's obviously a few, but there's a few players that you'd want to have in your team, like a Calvert-Lewin, that dominant centre forward that wins aerial battles, defends as well from set pieces. I think is a fantastic player when he's fit. And that, I think, would have been really good for us. But Unai might have wanted something different anyway, as I say. So we can give our opinion, but ultimately we might not have wanted that target man. So.
Yeah. Okay, final question then on this bumper episode of the Carton Blue podcast Q&A from Unai Emery's coat. This might be a bit like choosing between your wife and your favourite actress, but who would you say is your favourite Villa manager between Smith and Emery? I love the highs that Emery has given us on the pitch, but I have such a soft spot for Smith. Would probably say he's my favourite still. Oh, that's rude from Unai Emery's coat.
We've had Emery's gilet and his coat. What's next?
Yeah, a few references to Unai Emery's clothing. Attire, that's the word I was going for. Favourite Emery or Smith? That is difficult.
Yeah, it's just hit me that I have to answer that.
It's got to be Emery, no?
Does it?
Sorry, Dean, if you're still
watching.
You
have to split them because I can't. They've both done. How do I put this? Emery is doing what Dean Smith. No,
Dean Smith. How do I put this? Unai Emery could run.
No, Dean Smith's job at Aston Villa was to get the club promoted and keep it in the Premier League.
Yeah,
doesn't matter how hard or easy that was. It was hard, by the way. But do you know what I was trying to say? Unai Emery's job is doing what he's doing, essentially. Maybe he's even exceeding it. But Dean Smith has done something that at that time was as good as winning a Premier League for us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was his job, and he did that job perfectly.
Yeah.
Set us up for what we're doing now. Unai Emery is doing his job perfectly and setting us up to continue what we're doing. So I'm not going to. Sorry for sitting on the fence, but I'm not going to split them. You could ask another way and say, who do you feel sort of more, what's the word? Like Dean Smith is one of us. Do you know what I mean? Villa fan, born in the area. He gets us. He was on the podcast. Like, he probably doesn't come on that unless he can, do you know what I mean? Like, there's a connection there. Dean Smith is one of us. Unai Emery is not one of Villa, but he is, like he said himself, is like part of his heart is Aston Villa. It's part of it is Sociedad and where he's from. Dean Smith is 100% Villa. And I'm sure he has a liking for, I don't know, Brentford or Norwich or even Leicester or whatever, clubs that he's coached, Charlotte as well. But it's essentially Villa. Emery is a lot of different things. But I don't know. As managers, obviously Unai Emery is a better manager. Yeah. But the job that Dean Smith did, you cannot fault it. You really can't. I know he was sacked, but that's just the way of a manager. Eventually, things run out. It may run out for Emery down the line. Hopefully not. But right now, I'm not going to separate them because they've both done very different jobs. Both nearly perfectly is what you'd say. I have more of a connection to Dean Smith because it's nothing against Unai whatsoever. It's just he is literally like if I was 30, 40 years old, no, maybe that's a bit too much. If I was 20 or 25 years older, you might be one of Dean Smith's mates. Do you know what I mean? Whereas that wouldn't be the case for Unai because he's from a different part of the world, but still.
So is warmth the word? Like not warm, fuzzy feeling towards Dean Smith.
Not even warm. It's just Unai. Let's say actually he was. This is very random. Nigel Adkins. He's not from Birmingham. He's not a Villa fan. So that's what I'm trying to say. It's not even Unai's in English or he's not. It's literally Dean is just. He could be. He's one of us. You'd see him in the Holt End, and he's one of you. Do you know what I mean? Whereas Unai, it's a different sort of connection that you have. So for like a personal level, I feel a connection to Dean Smith for that level, for that reason. Sorry, but Unai as a manager is obviously a better manager. But Dean's the job Dean did was pretty much impeccable for the targets that he had.
Yeah, I agree. It's very, very difficult to separate the two because they both performed the job they were required to do, and Emery's still doing the job he was asked to do, and like you say, probably better than expectation. And it's still ongoing as well. So it's there's an end point to Smith. We know how it ended. His story finished, and there is a kind of fuzzy, nostalgic glow to that period, I think, of promotion that people hold in their hearts. Whereas the Emery era is still ongoing. So it's very difficult. I instinctively said, it's got to be Emery, but it's not as clear cut as you'd like. If it was Emery or O'Neill, obviously Emery, but that's very different. It depends
how much is sort of deep the question, if that makes sense. I guess who would you rather have in the dugout? Well, at this point, Emery. It's different stuff, but what we're doing now does not happen without Dean Smith. So for that reason, I put him on the same level as Love, if that makes sense, for what he's done.
Yeah, okay. All right, that was the final question, John. We both survived the bumper edition of the Can't Blue podcast. yeah, that was quick. I don't know what the end run time will be because I'll probably have to do a little bit of editing, but we've filmed for quite a while. We want to try and do one or two long episodes maybe per month. We couldn't do it every week, obviously for time reasons, but I think after a Villa win, I'm more than happy to chuck an extra couple of questions into the list from the mailbag and go through them and do a bumper episode. So this might have been an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and 20 minutes, maybe, I don't know. The same length as the Dean Smith interview. So if you've not gone and watched that yet, please go back and have a look at that. Our next episode will be the post-match show for Palace. So you've got till Wednesday night to have consumed this episode, which you will know because you've already got this far into it anyway. If you stayed to the very end of this show, I'd like you to leave a comment on Spotify or YouTube. Cheese on toast to mark the question name from earlier on. I like the fact that some of the names are random, but the next question is from Cheese on Toast with HB sauce. Doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, although it did then actually. So Cheese on Toast in the comments, please, if you stayed to the very end. And John, maybe go and have a plate of it. It is lunchtime, so okay, fair enough. Thank you very much for watching or listening to this episode of the Can't Blue podcast, and we'll see you Wednesday night. Bye, everyone.